Perfectionism feels like a work problem, but a big part of perfectionism is your ego. You're not trying just to finish a report or a draft. You're trying to protect the image that you have of yourself. You want the work to confirm that you are a special unicorn, exceptional. And that's why finishing feels so dangerous, because if you're a perfectionist, you probably already know what your activity, your work needs. You can see what should be improved. You can picture the final result. And still, when it comes to the moment of finishing, well, then you delay and you don't deliver. Why does that happen? Because an unfinished project still protects that fantasy. As long as the work stays unfinished, you can tell yourself, you can keep telling yourself that the best version of that work is still coming later. Once the work is delivered, well, it becomes real. And you can judge it, and other people can judge it too. And the unfinished work, well, it was protecting you. But the work that you delivered, it's not so nice as you wanted. When you are a perfectionist, you're protecting this identity that harms you. When you're stuck, people give you some simple advice like, oh, done is better, just get started. They say it's okay to make it messy first and you can improve it later. And for a short time, that advice seems to give you some energy. You open the file, you try again, but a few days later, you go back to avoiding the work. And the reason is simple. Your deeper fear is not starting. Your deeper fear is finishing. Finishing creates evidence that can damage that identity that you're trying to protect. So we need to name the real problem here clearly. When you are a perfectionist, you are protecting an identity that harms you. Maybe when you were younger, you built a strong image of the future self who would one day produce extraordinary work. And maybe you never let go of that image. If that is true, every unfinished project becomes a way of protecting that identity. But that protection comes at a price. You don't get relief, you don't get progress. You don't get finished work with your name on it. You only get more delay, more pressure, more shame. So now we can ask a harder question. When did this identity become so fragile? The perfect version of you is not waiting in the future. That version only exists in your imagination. Maybe when you were younger, you thought that one day you would be creating amazing work with no struggle, no fear, no mess. But life showed you something else. You have limits, you have flaws, you waste time, you get tired, you're human. And apparently you still don't accept that. That is why you keep leaving projects unfinished. Because an unfinished project is protecting your ego. It lets you keep believing that the best version is still coming later. And that later never comes. The moment you finish the work, the truth appears. Now the work is real. And now you can see what you actually produced, and other people can see it too. That is exactly what scares you. So stop pretending, waiting for this perfect version of yourself. That person is dead weight. Let that fantasy go. Work with the person who is here right now. You are the only person who can actually finish something. Your perfectionist self deserves a funeral. Perfectionism is a fantasy that is blocking real work. So, what should you do now? Let's do a funeral for your perfectionism. Sit alone for 10 minutes. No phone, no music, no distraction. Just ask yourself one brutal question. What if I finish this work as the person I really am, not as the genius I wish I would be? And then stay there. You'll probably feel sadness, anger, shame, disappointment. Okay, that's the point. Most people run away from that feeling. They scroll their phone, they go get some snack, they work on something else. They try to escape, and that is why the problem never ends. You need to feel the loss. You need to admit that the perfect version of you is not coming to save this project. That is the funeral. And once you accept that, something changes. The pressure drops. The task stops feeling like a test of your worth. The task is just a task. That's when work becomes possible. And remember this, ordinary does not mean bad. Ordinary means real work, finished by a real person. That is worth much more than a perfect work that just exists in your imagination. The fake self delays forever. The real self finishes. How do you feel now? Good. And we're not done yet. After this funeral, there's still one more trap keeping your perfectionism alive. There's a lot I want to give you, and that's why I invite you to visit the link arata.se/done. You must stop playing two games at once, because you cannot finish the work while also trying to please people, to make people admire you. When you sit down to work, you think that your job is to finish a project, right? But that's not the only game that you're playing. There is a second game. You are also trying to make that work prove to other people that you're talented, that you're impressive, that you're worthy of respect. And that is why your work feels so heavy. A paragraph you write is no longer a paragraph. That paragraph has to protect, has to defend your ego. That paragraph has to impress other people. That paragraph has to prove that you are special. That's too much weight for just one paragraph. So you write a line, you judge it too fast, you delete it, and then you write another one, then you delete that one too, and then after 1 hour, you're tired, but there is no work you delivered. It's not done. So here's the fix. For the next 15 minutes, play only one game. You're not trying to impress anybody. You're not trying to prove your worth. Just make real work. The fake self wants admiration. The real self is able to do completion. You must let the cracks stay visible, because people trust real work much more than fake perfection. There is a Japanese art called Kintsugi. When a bowl breaks, the artist can repair the cracks using gold. The bowl does not pretend that nothing happened. The damage stays pretty visible. And your work should be like that. A finished piece of work shows that a real person made it. It shows effort. It shows limits. It shows that you kept going and it delivered something real, something useful. And that matters much more than just trying to look flawless. Every time your work is not perfect, ask yourself if you did your best, given the time and the constraints that were available. Then deliver it. People don't need your work to look perfect. People need your work to be real, clear, and useful. The fake self, it keeps polishing things forever. The real self publishes. And when you start finishing real work, shame gets smaller and your pride becomes, work becomes possible. Your perfectionism is not just a bad habit. It is your refusal to let go the perfect version of yourself. And that fantasy is blocking your real work. So bury it. Do a funeral. Stop asking every project to be proving your worth. Let your real self do the work. The fantasy will be delaying forever. The real self finishes, publishes, delivers. If you want a structured path to break the perfectionism freeze and finally complete the work that matters to you, come here to Arata Academy. I'll teach you a practical system for doing exactly that. You can go to the link arata.se/done.